Here we are in Bled hosting Prageet and Julieanne. Welcome to Slovenia. Tell me, how is it here? You just arrived last night, right?
Yes, it's so beautiful here.
Just driving here, it was like, and then coming down and then seeing the lake, and it was like, whoa, we're not going to be here long enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's your first time, but I hope it's not the last time. You're bringing Stargate to Slovenia, as said, for the first time, and from what we understand, it's something that's going to bring us together. It's important for the country. So let me start with your message for Slovenia.
Well, Alcazar talks about Slovenia as a place in transformation that's coming out of the old. I don't know much about your history, but from what I do understand, it's been a little difficult, and like the rest of the planet, we're all evolving, we're all becoming more conscious, more awake, more aware. And the whole focus of the Stargate work is to assist people in waking up, basically, becoming less unconscious, becoming more aware of, first of all, their own selves, but then the world around them, but more importantly, the so-called unseen world, where there are many benevolent beings who are waiting for us to reach a certain stage of awakening so that we can communicate with them. Mm-hmm. And the most well-known ones, of course, are the Ascended Masters. Mm-hmm. And so we connect with them in the Stargate work. They actually come into the room with us. Mm-hmm. And the incredible thing is that people can actually experience the energy of the Masters coming in.
Well, I believe Alcazar mentioned at some point that we are kind of calling you, that we are ready. So apparently the collective consciousness of our country was ready to even have Stargate here, right? Julieanne, you mentioned you felt the presence here, or nature spirits are strong or something.
Yeah, the nature spirits are amazing here. We have all this beautiful acres and acres of trees here, so that's amazing. And I can feel that really strongly. Each place I go, I can feel, and so it's really nice to be here where I can feel these nature spirits, and it's really uplifting. And you know, Alcazar said that they're really excited that we're here.
That's
we
perfect.
We went for a walk this morning around the lake,
yeah.
and there's just one section there where under the trees, and the energy was so tangible. It was so exciting just to be there, and there was this mother duck with about 10 tiny little babies. So that was exciting too.
Of course, we'd like to think that Bled is one of the most powerful places on the planet, but of course you travel the whole world, and you're talking about Maui, going back to Maui and Shasta. So can you tell us about these special points of energy power at the moment on the planet? What's your feeling? As much as every country is, as you mentioned, going through.
Mount Shasta is a very famous mountain for several reasons. One is there's something about the dimensional energy there. The dimensions are more easily accessed there. So many people, when they go to Mount Shasta, actually have an experience of feeling the other dimensional levels. And there's dozens, if not hundreds, of stories of people that have just been walking on the mountain, and the Ascended Masters have actually appeared in the physical. It's known to be a base for Saint Germain, and Saint Germain has a very strong gathering of people there that do his work there. Similarly, it's a really powerful spot because of the closeness of the dimensions for the Galactic Command. And believe it or not, there's spaceships that actually come down and go into the mountain in Mount Shasta. Not physically, a higher dimensional craft coming down and going into the mountain. For the Earth itself is hollow on the higher dimensions. On the physical level, it's just a big solid molten mass inside. But on a higher dimension, you can actually go inside it. And the ships are actually very often seen to be going down into the mountain.
So to have a coffee with Saint Germain, that's the place to go. Because he had mystery school here in Bled as well. So there are many powerful places that I believe you guys are connecting. Julieanne, you come from that area, right? From around Shasta.
Yeah, well, about 3 hours away, but
wow.
Yeah.
Does that have something to do with you working with Prageet?
Well, the location that I'm from actually happens to be about an hour away from where Prageet ended up settling and then doing the Stargate work in California. So I don't think it's an accident.
Yes. If you were to tell us more about that. And then the second place is Maui,
Maui.
right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we love being in Maui just because it's a beautiful island, of course, but its main energetic connection has to do with Lemuria, which is a really ancient prehistory civilization where people, when they lived there, were very connected to the stars. They knew that they came from different star systems before they actually became human, as we all did. One of the reasons that many people around the world are drawn to go to Hawaii is because of their Lemurian connection. They feel, oh, let's go there. They feel drawn there because of the tropical paradise and so on. But beneath that, in their unconsciousness, there's very often this draw because of the ancient Lemurian history there. And that too is a place where the Galactic Command actually come down. There's a very large volcanic mountain there, Mount Haleakala, and they go down into the crater there. So it's another access point to the inner city of Telos, which few people have heard about, which is in the inner earth again.
So how did you experience the first time seeing? Did you see Stargate shape, or how did you know this was Alcazar? Was it like an inner voice, or how did that happen? It was on Maui, right?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That was on Maui. On our website there's a long story, a 20-minute story about how the whole Stargate began and how skeptical I was, and I asked Alcazar to prove that these beings from the other star systems exist before I would talk about it. And so they gave me a demonstration. They actually invited me up onto one of the spacecraft.
Out of body.
In an out-of-body experience, It all started, I was actually living on Maui with a group of friends who were going to buy a hotel and turn it into a New Age center. That all stopped when the guide said, okay, stop that, that's been a good experience, there's something new about to happen. And then the channeling started, and after working with Alcazar for about a year, he said, we want to build a structure, it's called a Stargate, and it's going to be an interdimensional doorway. And he gave me a picture of it in my mind. We have a little one here on the table. But the first one we made was much, much bigger. It was about 3.5 meters high, and you can actually walk into it. The one that we travel with isn't quite so big. It's about 2 meters high, and 4 people can easily sit inside it. But the actual energetic that comes from it when it's activated fills the whole room. A little one like this will fill a huge arena if we activated it. It's amazing energy field.
Wow. And now, Julieanne, I need to ask you, how did you experience your first contact? Just tell me where it was and how did you feel it?
Well, I was lucky. I got to just come to an evening with the Stargate, and it was like a small evening with about 8 people in a living room in California. And I found it online, and I was just like, wow, that's incredible. It's high vibrational energy, which I had just learned can produce miraculous healings. And I just firsthand went and learned a healing modality. And then so I was hearing about meditation with high vibrational energy and channeled guidance, and I was like, that sounds incredible. So I went, and it was like more incredible than I could have imagined.
How were you inspired? Just from a flyer, or somebody was telling you about
online?
It?
I was actually looking to meet new friends, and I found the Stargate.
Yes. Okay, that's brilliant. So you really followed your heart, your intuition in that moment, and that was it. And
exactly. Yeah, I've just been following my intuition ever since.
It's just incredible. And then you just left your life, so to speak, And then join Prageet, or how did
Yeah,
you
I mean,
end up working
you know,
with
it's sort of like the magical mystery tour.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's so much to discover within myself, with everyone on the earth. We all have these vast beings, and for me, I can feel that, and it feels like it's worth.
So how did Stargate change you? There are other modalities, right? But specifically Stargate. How is it for you? Is just this home for you? Like you feel your soul is meant to be doing this? Or something
I
like that?
certainly feel a soul connection. I tend to feel the energies really strongly. And I'll be like, oh, am I really changing that much? And then something happens in a workshop, just a moment, and it's like, and my consciousness is at a totally higher level, and I'm like, whoa. It's almost like mini awakening experiences.
Yes. You have many stories about what people experience, but of course you have to experience it first, rather
Right.
to bring it through for everybody
Yeah.
else. And then the change can be physical. Can you still just tell us about the physical healings? We'd love to hear stories like this because many people are struggling physically.
Well, first thing about the Stargate the Stargate experience is you have no idea what's going to happen. We never know what's going to happen. So going in with a preconceived idea, we always say just let everything go and just be there. But there has been some what seem like miraculous healings. There's actually a very logical explanation how it works. But yeah, we've just come from Holland, for example, and there was a lady there who had scoliosis of the spine. And she came for a private session. And I put her in the Stargate and did some energy work. Alcazar came through and talked to her. When she got out of the Stargate, she stood up and she looked at me and said, I can't believe it. And I said, what? Because I didn't know about her back. She said, my spine, it's gone straight. And she was walking around and she's saying, I'm not feeling any pain. And she said, for 16 years, I've been in pain every time I walk. And I wear special things in my shoes, and I don't need them anymore. And so suddenly things like this happen. There was a lady that came to an evening, and she'd had 7 operations on her right knee. And the doctor said they couldn't do anything else for her. And it made a clicking noise when she walked, and going up the stairs was painful. And she came to an evening, and at the end of the evening, her knee was back to normal. It was functioning perfectly. She came to a workshop a week later and told us about it, that this had happened, and that it's been fine ever since. So things like that happen. It happens on many levels. That's some physical things, but there's lots of other stories. There's a story about a blind lady in Germany many years ago, got her sight back. And a deaf lady in Sweden, deaf in both ears, got her hearing back. So very physical changes happen. And milder ones, people that stresses and strains just leave the body, people feel so much more relaxed. But it happens on other levels too, right?
Yes, it does. Well, for me, it was really exciting when I was in the room and the first physical healing that I ever was there for happened, and it was in another living room in Hawaii, and this person was like, there was bread baking in the oven, and after the first meditation, he raised his hand and he was like, I haven't been able to smell for the past 6 years, and right now I can smell the bread baking in the oven. So that was really cool. I was like, ah!
But there's all kinds of other levels which are more subtle, and you don't even necessarily notice it's happening at the time. There was this Dutch woman who actually came to a workshop we did on Ibiza in Spanish Island, and 2 weeks later we were in Holland. She was a Dutch lady. She came to the workshop in Holland, and she came up to us in the break and she said, you know what, I can't believe what happened in Ibiza. I didn't think anything had, but when I went home and I was with my parents, I noticed the change. She said, usually all we do is fight. We don't get along well together. We disagree about everything. It was totally different. It was calm and peaceful and loving, and it totally changed our relationship. So things happen on that level as well.
So you said you can't go wrong with Stargate, right? and maybe the less expectation you have of whatever you want, maybe the more you can get. Does that work like that? Yeah.
Yeah, the more that you just relax and completely let go and allow yourself to just be there, and the energy really helps you with that because you're just like, oh yeah. And the more you can just really relax and go with that, the more can actually happen, because that lets everything move the way that your guides and your higher self are actually the ones who are really facilitating the experience.
Yeah, because it's not just Alcazar, I suspect, who is the guardian of the structure, right? But everybody we all have our own.
So let's just
connection.
describe a little bit how
it
we
works.
actually work
Yeah.
in the evenings and in the workshops. The Stargate itself, this is a little bit of a challenge for the mind, but the Stargate itself has a consciousness, and the physical structure is an anchor for the consciousness, just the same way as your physical structure, your body, is an anchor for your consciousness. And it's the consciousness, the actual consciousness of the Stargate that responds to us. And so we ask it to vibrate faster and faster, and as it does so, it actually moves up through the dimensional ranges. And so we actually take the energy in the room up to the 12th dimension. And in that space, everybody in the room becomes more sensitive to energy. You don't have to do anything. It's just about being in the energy field. And in that energy field, with that increased sensitivity, we then invite different guides into the room. We almost always start with the angelic realm, for example. We invite the angels into the room, and the whole energy changes. People actually feel the energy of the angels coming into the room. And usually there's one or two people that have the inner vision, and they can actually see the angels. Some people actually feel themselves being lightly touched by the angels. So it's a very tangible, very real experience.
So how does that help, let's say, my consciousness, right? So I have the consciousness of Stargate, which is something that you ask to do something.
Yeah.
If I had one at home,
Right.
I'd ask it to vibrate stronger, faster and faster. But how is the angelic realm helping humanity at this moment, or ascended masters, with this whole shift?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Rather than meditating on my own, so right?
Yeah.
It's an amazing tool that
Exactly. Alcazar has once said, the Stargate energies are all about awakening on every level. So the energy really touches your energy field. So when the angels come in, they're actually vibrating your energy field. And that's actually stimulating awakening to happen on every level, because what's not that well known is that our DNA exists on other dimensional levels, and that's actually like the library of who you are. It contains your past life experiences and skills, abilities.
All kinds of information is stored in the higher levels of your DNA. And so when the angels come in, for example, their vibration, their frequencies vibrate your own energy field. Your own energy field vibrates the very DNA in each and every cell in your body. And we talk more about that in the workshop, how the changes within the DNA affect not just the physical, but every aspect of yourself. In fact, really the focus of the Stargate work is reactivating dormant DNA. If you had to put it in a sentence, that's it.
Right.
And in the workshops we describe in detail how that really works. But the beautiful thing is that for the participants, there's nothing to do. You just relax into the energy field. There's no special way to be, there's no special breathing to do, there's no special way to sit. It's just relax and do nothing and receive.
Yes, and it's a very pleasant experience. Very often I look around the room and people's faces are like, oh.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Because it's such a paradox, isn't it? We often think, oh my God, I'm not spiritually enough. I have to, let's say, be very strict about my diet, very strict about my morning meditation, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You see what I mean?
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure
Exactly.
that people on a spiritual path tend to take on, and this is one of the most relaxing most beautiful and fast ways to raise our vibration, would you say?
Well, actually, the most difficult thing about the Stargate is that there's nothing to do.
Exactly. It's very hard.
It's like people think they have to
true.
do something, and so the first thing we have to get, the first barrier is there's nothing to do. It's literally an experience of connecting with your guides. To feel the energy when you feel Jesus coming into the room, for example, people burst into tears because they can feel it. It's not just some thing that they've learned about in church or read about in a book, and then perhaps Buddha comes in and a totally different energy, but you can feel it.
And you mentioned that Alcazar had very good sense of humor. Isn't it all about fun and joy and laughter in this lifetime?
Yes.
Right? So Alcazar brings that energy through as well, right?
It's about balance. It's about including everything. It's about the laughter and the joy, but it's also about the tears and the sadness, just because that's part of life. And people sometimes experience sadness and crying, and it's like, oh, why am I crying? It's because there's such a sense of relief. Oh, finally, this is changing. Finally, I'm beginning to feel differently. Finally, I'm beginning to experience my joy. And you might imagine, but when you start getting in touch with this deep joy, there'll be laughter, but usually the first thing is sadness, crying. Oh, finally it's gone. I've held this, I've been shut down for so long. And there's tears, but the tears are of joy and sadness together. It's a mixture of both.
Yeah. Do you see people releasing, of course, old things or trauma or things from past life?
Things get released, but it happens in such a beautiful way. It's like sometimes people, for example, they've had a car accident a long time ago, and they broke a bone in the body or something. Sometimes they'll just feel that again. They'll feel it, and then they'll let it go. What they're letting go is all the emotional trauma. Very often, if a bone breaks, for example, it will physically heal, but there's still an emotional trauma which limits people. In a subconscious or unconscious way, it limits people. And that's another way that the Stargate works. It dissolves limitations and belief systems that are not your truth. As kids, we're taught things by our parents, by our schools, by our societies that are really not our truth. But because we're so small, we believe it. And then that goes into an unconscious way of behaving. And that limits us. And as adults, we've already got this pattern happening, and we're so used to it, it's there. And the Stargate starts to dissolve these patterns. So people very often feel little electric shocks happening. And they say, what's that? And it's these old unconscious patterns. The energy of the Stargate dissolves them. And then when that's completely gone, there's a release of energy. The energy that's been tied up in those repressive behaviors. And when it's released, there's a little burst of energy.
So everything that's uncomfortable, by definition, is something that doesn't belong to us.
Exactly.
Right? It's something
Exactly.
we will let go whenever we choose to, or whenever we're ready to let go.
Yeah.
Julieanne, I'm really inspired. How old are you?
24.
At the point of this interview. So do you miss anything? So how's your life happening for you now? So you're in Slovenia today, and then is it Bulgaria tomorrow, for example, right? How are you experiencing all this? You work with unicorns as well. You have to tell us about that.
Well, I wasn't expecting to do this at all. I was actually planning on going and becoming a holistic alternative medicine doctor, because I thought that was the best way to help people. I was interested in psychology, and then I said, this isn't deep enough. I need to be able to understand food and the way it's affecting us also. And then when I encountered the Stargate energies, I discovered a soul connection and got this invitation. I was like, yes, absolutely, this is something I want to do, because I saw it as a way to manifest my highest potential, and also actually as the most fun and beautiful thing I could be doing, because it
I can imagine just hanging out with
because it's honoring my spirit also, and that's part of the channeling of the unicorns. I could just feel one day after a 4-day workshop, I was like, I can bring through unicorn energy. Like, I just knew. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. And so I did, and I was like, wow, that's really nice. And my friends could all feel it. And so it's like, do I miss anything? Yeah, I miss college.
Yeah.
I really do.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you go back to your homes every now and then as well? Or is it just
Yeah.
one big, beautiful...
Yeah, and I finished college anyway, so I couldn't go back there.
Okay. But you go back to see your family, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we do a lot of traveling, but we also spend time in California. But poor old Julieanne, in the last 18 months, she's had to go to, 7 months in traveling around Europe and 4 times to Hawaii. So it's not all suffering.
Poor you.
Yeah,
I
really.
feel for you.
Yeah, no more
We'll
studying.
make sure you release any of whatever needs to be released.
Actually, it's a lot, but it's such a joy doing these workshops, and you see people coming in, and then at the end of the day, usually there's like this queue of people wanting to give us a hug and tell us what's happened for them, and yeah, it's wonderful.
What do you aspire for? Oh, sorry, you were
No,
saying.
no, go ahead.
What are your dreams? Is there a particular place you would wish to be invited to, or is there anything, or is it just moment to moment life, and then one day this person, Matea from Slovenia, invites you and you say yes in 5 minutes, and here you are? How does your life actually work with Alcazar there all the time, so to speak?
It works following our intuition.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we had this this connection with somebody who we had no idea inviting us to come here. And so we just said, okay, tune in. Wow, that feels really strong. We should go there.
Right.
Without knowing anything about the place, because the guidance is there, and the guidance comes through intuition. And that's one of the things that we help in the Stargate work, is helping people open up their intuition. And more and more we've had feedback from people saying, wow, their lives have changed simply because they trust their inner voice, their inner knowing now. And so we very much support that in the work that we do. It actually helps open up the channels, the intuitive channels.
Yes.
And in fact, one of the things we do is a workshop to help people learn to channel. And the main reason we do that is because the channeling comes in through their intuition. And so by bringing through the voice of their guide, it's actually opening them up to hear their own inner voice, their own guidance from their higher self and from their own knowing.
Well, Julieanne, before we finish, what are they saying, the unicorns?
What are
Any
they saying?
messages, or the Four Sisters?
The unicorns speak through sounds. So I can channel them right now. What they do is they create this stillness inside, and it's just a deep relaxation. It's really beautiful.
I'm inspired. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just tune in.
And then we'll ask Alcazar to finish off, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
More.
They're very present here in Bled. Yeah. Yeah, Alcazar's right. I can feel them very strongly here.
it's so perfect that both of you, when you channel Alcazar, you kind of use the same tone of voice. It's so beautiful. So how about you both say something from Alcazar to finish this conversation? Would that work?
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
When we do the
Let's
workshops,
You do this
the
as
guidance comes through her and me, and he
Wonderful.
goes backwards and forwards. Yeah.
Yes. So here we go.
Okay, well, it feels like he's going to be starting with Julieanne.
Indeed. And so, beloved ones, we are with you. And we wish to invite you simply to turn your focus, your attention within your own self right now. Feel the stillness, feel the energies that are present within.
For it is possible for you right now to feel an energetic that we are bringing into your space, wherever you are, as you feel us talking to you.
Feel this and just ask for it to become a little bit stronger. You are in fact guiding your own experience right now and always.
So simply ask inside for the energy around you to get stronger.
And stronger.
And we invite you to come and experience so much more. We invite you to come and sit in the energetic of the Stargate, a doorway to other dimensional realities, where you will meet the Ascended Masters, where you will meet benevolent beings from around your universe, where indeed you will also meet an aspect of your own self as you begin to shed the layers of limitation that you have built up over this and many other lifetimes.
Because, beloved ones, you are vast. You are beings who have existed forever, for all time. And it is time now on this your earth for you to rediscover that vastness which you truly are.
And so, beloved ones, we say, as we have said many times before, when you are ready, we are here. We love thee and we bless thee. We honor thee, and we will talk to you again very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alcazar. Thank you, Prageet. Thank you, Julieanne, for following your heart and intuition, for being such a brilliant example of how a person can live this beautiful life on planet Earth at this auspicious time of the deepest change ever. Thank you so much for this interview.
And thank you, Branka.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank all those wonderful people who've put so much energy into creating such a beautiful space, a beautiful opportunity. And this workshop is going to be absolutely amazing.
Well, final question, Prageet, are you Santa Claus in some other existences over Christmas?
I miss Santa Claus in this existence.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Thank you.
And it's Christmas every day.
For me.